Hello everyone! Today I would like to start with a very interesting fact. It's not surprising that online learning is becoming more and more popular every year. Almost 95% of educational institutions operate online due to coronavirus restrictions. Both lectures and seminars are held on various online platforms such as Zoom, Webinar, MS Teams and Skype and so on. Online education has greatly influenced the communication between students and professors. As a result, many communication problems have arisen, due to which the quality of education may decrease. Both teachers and students are dissatisfied with educational process. So, have you ever had different problems with communicating with professors or students? If so, we have good news. It's possible to solve them. So, let's look to most common problems and think about their solution.
The first problem: not turning on the camera during the online class.
In online classes, you can always see the following picture. Sounds familiar, isn't it? On the one hand, this situation harms only the teacher himself, since he wastes his resource, class time, on silence, waiting for reaction, and so on. On the other hand, this problem is also ineffective for students. Without the camera turned on, they don't listen to the material so attentively. They are distracted by external matters, and as a result, they perceive the topic worse. So, we can conclude. In this way, interaction of the teacher with his students is necessary. During offline communication, of course, the teacher looking at students can see their reaction. Do they understand a difficult moment in material? Is it necessary to explain the topic again? And so on. However, in online communication, when microphones and video are turned off, it's difficult for a professor to interact with students. It's not even clear for him whether they are listening to the professor or not. So, due to these misunderstandings, some groups learn more material, some less. And let's now take a look at a more specific case.
So, hello dear students, I'm happy to see you on our lecture. So please turn on your cameras so I can see you. Okay, then let's start our lecture. Today we are going to talk about investment instruments. And now you can see the presentation. It's not surprising that and guys, do you understand how we got this formula, how we got this answer?
2 hours later.
Anybody?
Yes, we get it.
Okay, thank you.
This was a very common problem, isn't it? So, let's discuss this issue. We see students with no cameras on. Although the teacher is upset, we can understand the students. Oh, sorry, someone is calling me.
Understand? Sorry, I cannot conduct the class normally. Why are students able to sit in the classroom for 80 minutes, but cannot sit in front of the camera at the same time?
Okay, first, students may have different reasons. For example, someone doesn't have the camera on their computer, or it is broken, or the internet may also be unstable.
Well, if the online seminar took everyone by surprise, then yes, students can be understood. But if this is a systematic online course, is it possible to believe that 99% of students cannot get a cheap camera? Everyone has a smartphone, by the way. A stable internet connection and at least some suitable location?
Okay, I see your point. Of course, it is impossible to check all students. Someone can really take advantage of the situation. However, some students don't really have a suitable device that meets all the requirements. It is inconvenient to attend the seminar from the phone, for example.
Okay, then a student can attend a seminar or lecture from two devices. On the phone, for example, he will translate the video, and on another device, he will follow the seminar.
Yeah, you're right about that. However, there are students who having a camera don't want to turn it on, so as not to show their location. Someone doesn't want to share how the room is look like for various reasons.
Well, a student on the online platform can use the background replacement function.
However, this function isn't perfect. Sometimes it's not it doesn't cover the background, but covers the student himself. So this is a terrible for perception.
Yeah, it's right. But if students are warned in advance, they will be able to find a place in their apartment which they do not mind showing in front of their group mates, in front of the wall, for example.
Yes, I agree. But that's only if the student knows about the necessity of the camera, so that he has time to prepare the space.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in this point, I of course agree with you.
After the long debates with our professor, we came to the following solution. The teacher, before starting the course, must clearly state his preferences about the camera. Whether students have to turn it on or turn it off. If so, the student, in turn, must ensure that these instructions is followed by him. Perhaps someday professors will be able to see this picture. As the result, the interaction between professors and students will improve, and the teacher will be able to see the reaction of students to the covered material. By the way, of course, if the student doesn't want to show his face, he can attend the seminar like this. It's a joke, maybe. However, even if students listen carefully to the teacher with the cameras turned on, how can they tactfully point out that the teacher has made a mistake or isn't right? Let's look at a specific example.
The second problem, telling the professor about his mistake.
So, guys, as you understand, you need to subtract here. So we take the first cash flow and subtract the investment. So we have 600 minus 1000 and we get minus 400. And
we have a mistake here.
No, I know exactly how to count. There is no mistake.
But the first number must be 500, not 400.
Why must? Who told you?
As you can see, the teacher may react negatively to the remark of his mistake, as he was offended by public demonstration of his error, and a dispute may arise. Moreover, time is wasted on the argument, and besides, as a result, the teacher may generally lose the desire to continue the lesson further. More than that, this case leads to the fact that all students suffer. They didn't go through the material as well as they should. Moreover, the teacher isn't happy with this situation. He was unable to transfer knowledge to the students in a quality manner and didn't complete the work. But how then to be in such situations? You can't just skip the teacher's mistake and go through the material further. In fact, it's not worth emphasizing the teacher's mistake. Instead of,
Professor, you have a mistake here.
Ask the teacher to repeat the explanation or ask the question.
Sorry, but how did we get this number?
The teacher will begin to explain and, most likely, will notice his mistake.
once again, we take the first cash flow equal to... Oh, guys, I took the wrong number. Yeah, we must subtract 1000 not from 400, but from 500.
As you can see, in this case, no dispute or awkward situation occur. However, what is the best way to ask the question? Is it ethical to interrupt the teacher? Let's imagine the situation.
The third problem, interruption with clarification question.
The finance teacher talks about the topic, explaining the difficult point. The student doesn't fully understand the explanation and wants to ask the teacher a question. When he turns on the microphone and interrupts the lecturer during his explanation, the professor gets confused and misses the thread of the narration. As you can see, interrupting the professor during a lecture with a question or mistake notice isn't good, as this destroys his motivation to continue telling the material and the quality of the presentation of the topic. He loses his thought, gets confused or even angry, and doesn't tell the material while wasting time. As in the previous case, as the result, student can go through less material. But in fact, we have the solution. Online platforms, as a rule, have everything to prevent such situations. The student can use a special raised hand function before asking, or he can write a question in the chat. As a rule, some platforms even have separate chats for questions. The instructor will notice the student's raised hand or question and will try to answer when opportunity arises. But in this case, the teacher should check the chat from time to time. So, let's move to social media communication. Students communicate with teachers not only in class, it's obvious, but also outside teaching hours. Communication on social networks is gaining more and more popularity. However, are there any problems in communicating with teachers through social media communication? Of course, yes. Increasingly, teachers and students are using social media as a communication channel. On the one hand, it is of course convenient, saves time and avoids many formalities like in an email. On the other hand, is it ethical for a student to add to friends on the teacher's personal social media account by himself?
The fourth problem, likes, comments and messages not related to study.
Student finds the personal page of the financial teacher in the social network. Without permission and despite the closed account, he adds the teacher as a friend. Then the student begins to give likes to his posts, comment on photos and write in private messages. Okay, let's discuss, is it ethical for a student to comment on the teacher's photos or posts? What is the scope of acceptable in social media communication? Firstly, such informal relationships aren't good, as they destroy the student's motivation to study. He relaxes, thinking that the teacher will give him a good grade anyway. The result is ineffective student work. Secondly, some students find themselves closer to the teacher, which can provoke the destruction of the formal relationship between students and professors and lead to subjective assessment of the work. The work of such student will be judged unfairly to the relation of the work of other students. But how this situation can be avoided? At the beginning of the course, the teacher should identify the channels of communication with him. Students, in turn, must follow this guideline. Regarding the personal account on social networks, if the teacher doesn't want to have too much attention on his life, he, for example, should make his account private or announce to the students that he is against communicating with them on social network. Okay, maybe not all of you have faced the previous problems. However, in the next case, you will definitely find yourself. Imagine, the deadline is on, but you have a lot of questions. Sounds familiar? Of course. However, is it ethical to bother a professor with questions during non-teaching hours? What is the right time to talk with the professor?
The fifth problem, the right time for communication.
Saturday midnight. The student enters the social network and sees that the teacher is online. The student has accumulated questions about the project and he decides to ask them right now. As a result, in a week, the student didn't receive answers to his questions, since, in fact, the teacher answers questions only during working hours and only by email.
In fact, the teacher will not answer, but even if he did, writing outside the classroom hours isn't good, because, first of all, due to constant questions from students at any time, the teacher can't completely rest from his work. Respectively, the quality of his teaching decreases. For example, he will check the work of students for longer, since he will not be able to focus on assignments. Secondly, of course, the teacher has the right to rest, which is violated in cases when students attack with messages outside of working hours. So, now let's talk about the solution of this problem. In the moment when the professor identifies the preferred channel of communication, he should also inform the students at what time they should write to him. Students, in turn, must follow these instructions. As the result, communication will be effective and neither the teacher nor students will suffer. So, now I think that it will be very effective to refresh our material. Let's take a very small quiz.
Now you will see the question, and in each question you will have 5 seconds to answer. The first question: what is one of the biggest challenges for a professor during the online education, and why? During online education, professor cannot use the board for explanations. Teachers have to come face-to-face with modern devices. Technical difficulties may arise. In online classes, it is difficult to interact with students. The correct answer is C. By the way, nowadays there are many functions that replace the board on online platforms, so the answer A isn't right. The second question: if the professor makes a mistake, what should the student do? Ignore the mistake, since it is awkward to correct the teacher. Ask the professor to explain the material again or how he got the answer. Tell the teacher about his mistake. The correct answer is B. In this case, the teacher will not be ashamed of the public humiliation, and, on the contrary, he will notice the mistake by himself. By the way, it is not good to ignore the mistake, as the student will not understand the material or will learn it incorrectly, so their answer C isn't right. The third question: what function on online platforms can a student use to ask a question without distracting the teacher? The correct answer is A. This function is called raise hand. The fourth question: what communication channels can a student use to communicate with a teacher? Social networks, for example, Telegram or Ekaterina, mail only, call by phone. There is no correct answer. There is no correct answer to this question. It all depends on the preferences of the teacher. Of course, he should announce the communication channel at the beginning of the course. The fifth question: imagine, on a social network, for example on Ekaterina, you find a teacher's account, which is closed. What are your actions? Of course, add the teacher as a friend and start liking all posts if the application is approved. Don't add the teacher as a friend. This is his personal account. There are other, more formal channels for communication. The right answer is B, and we hope that you have chosen this answer. Congratulations! That was the last question. Well done.
So, as we can see, the online learning process isn't very easy for both students and professors. However, if you follow our pieces of advice, it can become more pleasant and more effective. We wish you all the best at distant learning. Good luck!